Hey, what is up, everybody? I'm here to give you guys my WWE Mae Young Classics update video number 4. Um, and I've been meaning to do this video for a while, but I've just been too busy with other things. I was actually going to do it this morning, but then I forgot because I went and watched Raw and SmackDown. So I'm here to give you the video now. I didn't think I'd be doing another one of these, just because I thought last video would have been the last update video, considering the fact that we've announced the competitors have now been announced. But there's been more information revealed about the Mae Young Classics, and I figured that I would make this update video to kind of talk about it. So I have some videos and stuff I'm gonna cover, and some articles I'm gonna read. So I'm just gonna get right into it, and yeah, here's the video. All right, so I'm going to start off by reading this article, and I just want to mention before I forget that all these articles and videos I'm going to be watching pertaining to this are going to be down in the description box down below. So let me just start it off. This is called Exclusive Q&A. Sarah Amato, I think that's how you say her last name, on how the Mae Young Classic will disrupt WWE, which is presented by Rocket, and this is presented by Rocket League. To get to the lockdown on the competitors in the WWE Mae Young Classic, there's one person you need to talk to, Sarah Amato. As NXT assistant head coach, Amato has long been a major behind-the-scenes influence on WWE's women's evolution. The fingerprints of her coaching can be seen on virtually any female superstar who has competed in NXT. Amato not only works hands-on with WWE Performance Center recruits, but she also observes the many talent tryouts that take place every year. Tryouts that for several women led directly to the Mae Young Classic. And if Amato hasn't trained them, there's a good chance she's wrestled them. Before becoming WWE's first female coach, Amato was known as Death Ray Sarah Del Rio, one of the independent circuit's most respected competitors. As the Mae Young Classics WWE Network debut on August 28th approaches, WWE.com spoke with Amato to get a sense of what's in store for the WWE Universe. So obviously this is a back and forth conversation, so I'm gonna read it. So this is sent. So WWE.com asks, does it feel like this tournament has been a long time coming? And then Saramento says, I don't know if I'd say that. It feels like any other time before now, we and the viewing audience wouldn't be ready. I think right now, all of the talent that we scored, um, secured actually, um, the globe for and brought in have had years of independent training, whether it's in Japan, America, Europe, or Mexico. And it's just the right time right now for all these ladies. Everyone's bringing something different, something interesting, but along with that is seasoning that they wouldn't have had any time prior. And then this is at then WWE.com asks, um, coinciding with that is WWE's ongoing women's evolution. How significant is the Mae Young Classic to that movement? And Amato answers by saying, it's huge. The women of WWE are breaking barriers monthly, it seems. I just think that I just think about when I was an active wrestler. There was an independent promoter, David Plazak, I think that's how you say his last name, of Shimer, that believed in women and put us all together and gave us our own events. That was so significant for me and my own development, to be around all these strong, competitive women who pushed each other. I'm blessed right now to have that at the WWE Performance Center with my group of ladies. It's just so important to bring them all here and put them on a platform like this, and for WWE and WWE Network to trust them to carry their own tournament TV show is huge. Um, And then WWE .com asks, for a lot of WWE fans, the classics will be their first chance to see these women. For people who aren't familiar with the competitors, why is this event a must see? And then Amato answers by saying, it's difficult to explain. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised. I have girls at the PC who went through the tryout process and who come from all different backgrounds. What WWE has now done is really highlighted women as athletes. So we're drawing much stronger, more competitive women, whereas before there was a stronger focus on sex appeal, right? Speaking from my experience coaching at the PC, you have these super high level athletes, and now they're going to be in the ring with other women who have tremendous experience, like the girls who wrestled in Japan, or Princesa Sujit from Mexico, or Mercedes Martinez. It's hard to put into words, but I think it's going to be very compelling. Then WWE.com asks, when you spoke to WWE.com a few years ago, you said that one of the things that entertains you most about sports entertainment is diversity. Looking at this lineup, it seems like there was a concerted effort to make it as diverse as possible. And then Amato answers by saying, there definitely was. We wanted to portray a variety of women, all women. But it wasn't just, I need someone to fill this role. Everyone really has a unique position in this tournament, whether it's their experience level or the country they're fighting out of. But they have all fought for years and they all deserve the opportunity to have this stage. And then WWE.com asks, one of the things that stands out, and perhaps it was in homage to the tournament's namesake, Mei Yun is the grit and toughness of the competitors. At least two of the women have pro MMA experience, and they are women with high level martial arts backgrounds. How will that affect the complexion of the tournament? And then Amato answers by saying, it for sure makes it interesting. A lot of women in this tournament have amateur combat sports background, like judoka, or Tyrana Conti from Brazil, or wushu player, um, which is Zai Li from China. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that right, but I did the best I could. It's going to be interesting to see what develops, but it's all the same at the but it's all the same at the end of the day. Regardless of their backgrounds, they all have the same fighting instincts as traditional wrestlers. And then WWE.com asks, another example is former UFC fighter Shayna Baszler, who continues the lineage of catch wrestlers. Having trained under Billy Robinson, what do you think about her progress and the transition she has made from MMA to sports entertainment? Then Amato answers by saying, she's such a cool case because she helped lead the charge for women in MMA. She's just top notch, right? She's amazing. She has close ties to Ronda Rousey and the other four horsewomen of MMA. Then she started to train for pro wrestling, and I know she's very good friends with Natty, who helped her out, and I think showed her some stuff in the ring. It's going to be a tough struggle for anyone who's in the ring with her. Um, and then WWE.com asks, who are some of your favorites, not only to go far in the tournament, but also to look out for in terms of stealing the show? And then Amato answers by saying, well, I have a very special place in my heart for Mercedes Martinez because she was my first rival in China, and I'm just so fond of her and her work. She's been doing this for so long and she's come a long way to be in this environment. I know from training with Bianca Belair and Lacey Evans that they're going to surprise a few people. They're probably my first three picks that I'm pulling for. and I'm watching for and watching for. I'm also curious to see Piper Niven. She just has great conditioning and is unique. She moves well and is very unpredictable, very agile for her size and strength. Um, and then WWE.com asks, you mentioned Mercedes Martinez. As we saw with the CWC and the UK Championship Tournament, these events can be so meaningful for veterans to make an impression for the first time on a WWE audience. For competitors like Martinez, this has probably been long overdue, right? And then Sarah Armato was answered the question by saying, "It's so empowering and motivating for young girls to have these strong women to look up to." Um, and then she goes on to say, "Completely, and I love them finally getting that opportunity. I love the mentality of NXT and what WWE is doing with women now. When I started training 15 years ago, I didn't fit the mold of what WWE was looking for in their woman at the time, so it never seemed like an attainable dream. So it's attainable dream, but I just loved what I did. It's awesome to see all these similarity minded women who just love wrestling and love performing to get opportunity to compete on the grandest stage, WWE, as cliche as it sounds." And then WWE.com asks, what kind of message does it send to the world, or specifically to young girls watching at home, to see all this woman's platform? And then Amato answers, it's so empowering and motivating for young girls to have these strong women to look up to, know that anything's possible and that you can shoot for the moon. That's one of the reasons that's one of the things that I love so much about Bailey, for example. It's so important for the little girl watching at home to see what's to see that sort of thing. Um, and then WWE.com asks, events like this are disruptive in a good way to the ecosystem of WWE. How do you think the Mae Young classes will shake things up for the woman in WWE? And then Amato um, answers by saying it's going to be a challenge for the girls on Raw and SmackDown Live. The women of NXT already continue to push and challenge them too, and force them to raise the bar. The Classics is going to be disruptive. It's going to show that there's a lot of competition out there and that everyone's gunning for a spot. And then that's the last question. Yeah, that was pretty much the last question. So that was pretty much the Q&A segment. I actually liked reading that. It was very informative, and it was kind of nice to have someone who's actually worked with these women uh, for months to lead up to this moment to kind of get their insight on it. And yeah, I thought it was pretty enjoyable. Okay, so now I'm gonna go through. They just showed this video of each participant in the tournament, kind of saying who they were and where they're from. And I'm gonna really do this because this is a way where I can repeat who else is in the who's in the tournament. Sorry, because it's been a while since I've done one of these videos. So let me just start right through it. I'm not really gonna go into too much detail because I did that in my last video, which you can click right up here to check out. So I'm just going to start going through the people. Of all 32 competitors in the tournament, we have Dakota Kai, who's from Auckland, New Zealand. We have from Paris Island, South Carolina, Lacey Evans. From Seattle, Washington, Abby Lath. From Havana, India, Kavita Devi. Some of these names I may not be able to say because I still new to some of them. From Tampa, Florida, Sage Beckett. From Knoxville, Tennessee, Bianca Del Rio. From Richmond, Virginia, Zeta. From Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Chiana Baszler, I think that's how you say that. From London, England, Ashia Raymond. From Gold Coast, Australia, who's currently living in Liverpool, England, Tony Storm. From From Rich Paul, Minnesota, Rachel Evers. From Hazard, Kentucky, Sarah Logan. From Berlin, Germany, Jazzy Gabbert, or Gabert, I don't know how to exactly say that name. From Houston, Texas, Miranda Salinas, I don't know how to say that last name. From Monterrey, Mexico, Princessa Sujit. From New York City, who's going to be representing the Dominican Republic, Mauri Bell. From Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, Tanawa County. From Westbury, Connecticut, Mercedes Martinez. From Washington, D.C., Renee Michelle. From Rio Grande Valley, Texas, Renee Gonzalez. From Chongqing, China, Zai Li. From Adelaide, South Australia, Ray Ripley. From Sacramento, California, Nicole Savoy. From Charlotte, North Carolina, Tessa Blanchard. From Glasgow, Scotland, Kaylee Way. From Anaheim, California, Candice LeRae. From Scottsdale, Arizona, Vanessa Bourne. From Washington, D.C., Serena Deeb. From Ocala, Florida, Santana Garrett. From Fontana, California, who's going to be representing the South Korea in the tournament, Maya Yim. From Ayrshire, Scotland, Piper Niven. And last but certainly not least, from Yamaguchi, Japan, Kawii-san. And that's all 32 competitors in the Mayon Classics. I will repeat it at the end of the video because there's a part that's related to that, so I will repeat it at the end of this video. But yeah, those are all 32 competitors in the tournament. Okay, so next, Mercedes Martinez gets interviewed, and she pretty much gets asked about that question I had mentioned earlier, that Sacramento, when she really put her over, and said that talked about how proud of her she was to make it into the Mae Young Classics, and pretty much what she says was because they obviously, like I said, they had this big rivalry all over the indie circuit, and Mercedes I have to remember this name. Mercedes Martinez talks about how the women's revolution or evolution started because of Sarah Mento, her influence into the performance center, and she talks about how it really meant a lot to her that she put her over the years and helped get her ready for this moment in the Mae Young Classics, and for her to say that she's thinks that she's going to do the best. It gives her some added pressure to actually want to win the Mae Young Classics and make a statement. So it's going to be interesting to see what Mercedes Martinez has to bring in the Mae Young Classics in August. Okay, so next we had like a little bit of an video of Abby Lath kind of going through what her career prior to the Mae Young Classics. She talks about how she started her wrestling journey 8 years ago in Philadelphia. Obviously, like I said, she's from Seattle, Washington. Then she ended up going over to Philadelphia for college, and one of her friends took her to an independent wrestling show, and she met wrestlers there. While she was at that show, and one of the wrestlers that she went into was Drew Gulak. And pretty much he took her under his wing and helped train her to become a professional wrestler. And then she talks about how she how to her professional wrestling and ballet is kind of the same thing because you have to train for it, but it's two completely different arts. And she talks, she kind of gives like her message talking about how you should always be early for your training sessions because if you're on time, that means you're late. And she talks about how one of the moves that she's going to be using at the Mae Young Classics is going to be the alligator roll, which is like this impossible roll up that no one's ever kicked out of. It was actually used by Mae Young and then used by and passed and it was passed down onto her trainer and passed down onto her. And she says that it would mean a lot to her if she was able to use that move to win the Mae Young Classics. And then that was it. I thought this was a nice little video package here, kind of giving you an introduction to Abby Lathe. And let's see what she has to bring to the table in the Mae Young Classics in August. Okay, so next I'm going to be giving you guys some information on Xia Li. Just kind of, gives you, it's a little article that kind of tells you a little bit about her. I figured I'd read it. Her height is 5'3". Her hometown is Chongqing, China. You can follow her on Twitter at Xi WWE. And I'm going to read this word for word. Xia Li is a grappler unlike any other in the Mae Young Classics, among the first Chinese athletes to be recruited into WWE's developmental system. Li is new to the ring, but not compact sports, a decorated martial arts. She claimed top place finishes in numerous tournaments, including the second World Traditional Chinese Wushu Championship, as well as fitness events such as the Nike Challenge competition in her native China. Li officially joined the WWE Performance Center in January and has been diligently studying under WWE's coaches ever since learning how to apply her well-honed martial arts bona fide inside the ring. She will have her first opportunity to show the world the fruits of her labor when she battles in this summer's Mae Young Classics. Now, before I continue, I want to see if there's anything else, like if I've seen this person, um, you know, uh, anywhere else besides WWE. I'm not really exactly sure if I have. Um, Let me just pull her up. I guess you haven't. You really can't look much up about her other than her Twitter and her thing on WWE website. So it's going to be her first go around in the WWE, and it's going to be interesting to see what she has to bring to the table in the Mae Young Classics in August. Okay, so next competitor is Toni Storm. Her height is 5'2". Her hometown is Gold Coast, Australia. You can follow her on Twitter at Toni Storm with like the little dash at the end. You'll see it when you go into her thing. Toni Storm is coming to rock the Mae Young Classics. An 8-year veteran of sports entertainment, Storm has a style and swagger clearly inspired by the 80s Los Angeles metal scene, but her ring name is unmistakable. 90s Japan. Her mix of Japanese strong style, British technical grappling, and the on orbit of high flying has taken her to championship heights in promotions across the world, including Progress Wrestling in the United Kingdom, where she recently became the organization's first women's champion. Now Storm hopes to ride that lightning all the way to WWE with an opportunity in the Mae Young Classics. As for those who have the unfortunate task of trying to defeat her, good luck. There's no other information though on Toni Storm, so this is well. I mean, you can look her up on Wikipedia. She's done some things outside of WWE, but this is going to be my first time ever seeing Toni Storm, and it's going to be interesting to see what she has to bring to the table in the Mae Young Classics in August. Okay, so now we have the next competitor. It's Bianca Del Rio. Her height is 5'7". She's from Knoxville, Tennessee. You can follow her on Twitter at Bianca Belair WWE. And yeah, I'll read this word for word. The Mae Young Classic boosts competitors of varying backgrounds and origins, but there's only one genetic beast. NXT recruit Bianca Belair was one of the most talented, powerful, and promising up-and-comers roaming the halls of the WWE Performance Center. Before joining WWE in 2016, Belair competed in track and field at University of South Carolina, Texas A&M, and the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. And she is regional CrossFit competitor. She is a regional CrossFit competitor who has been featured in RX magazine. It's little wonder then that she shined in the inaugural Performance Center combined last year, putting up amazing numbers such as um, a 400-pound trap bear deadlift and a 2.07-second 10-yard sprint, having defeated Aaliyah to qualify for this summer's 32-woman tournament. Belair now faces her biggest challenge yet. So yeah, I got to see a little bit of what Bianca Belair has to bring to the table in the Mae Young Classics. During her match with Aaliyah, I actually thought she looked pretty decent in that match. So let's see what else she has to bring to the table in the Mae Young Classics in August. Okay, so now we have the next competitor. It's Rachel Evers. Her height is 5'6". She's from St. Paul, Minnesota, and I'm gonna start reading it. Rachel Evers, a graduate of Lance Storm's Wrestling Academy, is entering the Mae Young Classics ready to forge her own path. An aggressive competitor who relies on the athleticism that comes from being a three-sport athlete. She played basketball, volleyball, and softball in high school. Evers has been making her presence known on the independent circuit since 2015. She combines refined technique with deceptive strength, as evidenced by her impressive powerlifting record, a bronze medal with uh, the World Powerlifting Federation, 27 state records, 5 American records, and 3 state titles. Evers has used her abilities to create a high impact arsenal of maneuvers that has earned her multiple championships, and she makes every opponent think twice before entering the ring against her. Let me see what else she has to bring to the table in the Mae Young Classics. I want to make sure that I look her up, see if I've seen her anywhere else. Um, well, I guess she's wrestled um, in a few squash matches in NXT, um, and she's also shown up in Impact Wrestling, which is now known as GFW, which stands for Global Force Wrestling. Um, but like I think I might have seen this match. She had like a match back in April 28th, 2016, and she's actually it says here Paul Elowin's daughter. Actually, she's the daughter of Paul Elowin. So, but so she's gonna have obviously some good um some good what am I trying to say? Someone that has a great mind for the business coach backstage with her. So yeah, I can't wait to see though what Rachel Evers has to bring to the Mae Young Classics in August. Okay, so next we have Piper Niven. Her height is 5'8". She's from Alasha. I don't know how to say the name of that, but she's from Scotland. You can follow her on Twitter at Miss Viper91. I like that Twitter name. And yeah, this is what it says about her. Piper Niven is an experienced powerhouse who has competed across numerous promotions, including Shine, Shimer, and Insane Championship Wrestling. The commanding competitor joins a lineage of Scottish wrestlers who love to unleash a beating on their opponents. Drawn to sports entertainment at an early age, Niven played contact sports in her youth, which no doubt set the foundation for the arrival inside the ropes in 2008. With an impactful arsenal that includes a Vader bomb, power slam, and other big hit maneuvers, she can knock out her competition at any given moment with a single monstrous move. Though 31 other wrestlers will try to stand in her way of winning the Mae Young Classic, the Intimidator from Auschwitz, however you say that, will have plenty of opportunity to inflict pain this summer on WWE Network. This is going to be my first time seeing Piper Niven. I know she's worked indie shows and stuff, but this is going to be my first time seeing her. So it's going to be interesting to see what she has to bring to the table. Um, on the Mae Young Classics in August. Okay, next it shows a video for Sage Beckett, and it pretty much obviously goes over everything that she had to go through going into the Mae Young Classics. She talks about how she started to fall in love with professional wrestling at first via acting. She was in a ton of plays and stuff when she was 12 years old. And she would perform at parks and stuff. And pretty much she said that she really wasn't getting where she wanted to be in that. So she went, she also was an athlete and she went to a professional wrestling show. I'm assuming it was while she was working at one of the parks. And she saw some of the athletes and they reminded her a lot of the wrestlers that she used to watch growing up, like the Dudley Boys and Tommy Dreamer, which obviously means that she was a huge ECW fan because they were big in ECW, um, and she was actually trained by the Dudley Boys. So she went to a wrestling school and got trained, which I'm assuming was by the Dudley Boys. Um, and yeah, she started wrestling, and then eventually she got an injury that set her back. She was 316 pounds, um, and she pretty much was told that she had to retire because if she took like a bad bump ever again, or a bad fall, she would die. So yeah, she took a break, and then she started doing research on her own, and she found out she had some sort of disease. I don't remember the name of it. I went on the Wikipedia page to look it up, but it didn't say what it was. Um, so she did what she could to conquer that disease, and she got herself in shape. And to think about it, in 2014, I believe, she went from being 316 pounds to 190 pounds. Um, and then eventually she got the call from WWE in 2015, and now she's about to compete in the Mae Young Classics. So that's really damn cool, actually. And pretty much she says that her biggest strength and weaknesses um, are her stubbornness. If you knock her down 7 times, she's going to get up 8 times. She's not going to let anything conquer her dreams. So yeah, I actually like this person. And if she actually won the Mae Young Classic with the story that she has, I really wouldn't complain all that much. So, going to be interesting to see what Sage Beckett has to bring to the table in the Mae Young Classics in August. Okay, so next, um, some people involved with the Mae Young Classics talk about, um, you know, pretty much Mae Young, about what it's like to have this tournament under her name. Lita talks about how it's an honor because Mae Young pretty much dedicated her life to professional wrestling. She pretty much was in the WWE up until the end of her life. And Jim Ross gives like a little um, info about how Mae Young got into the business. How about how there was exactly, I forget her name, but when she went to her first wrestling show and wanted to had her brothers beg the promoters to get into the business, and eventually she became one of the toughest women in professional wrestling. And some competitors in the Mae Young Classics themselves, like Vanessa Bourne, Lacey Evans, Bianca Belair, Modi Bell, all talk about how much of a pioneer Mae Young was and how she revolutionized sports entertainment and how she was, like I said, a pioneer. And they were completely right. Mae Young pretty much was in WWE. She was really old too when she died. It's really kind of weird to think uh, that she's not alive anymore. Obviously, I've talked about this in the first update, but obviously, moments I'm going to remember from Mae Young was her giving the Bronco Buster to get Eric Bischoff at the Bad Blood 2003 pay per view, doing the whole Stone Cold Steve Austin, Mae Young, um, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Eric Young triathlons. I'm obviously going to remember her getting power bombed off the stage by Bubba Ray Dudley. I'm obviously going to remember that. And obviously, too, even though it was a bad segment, I'm obviously going to remember her giving birth to a hand. To think about it, that her and Mark Henry are the mother and father to a hand. Um, as bad as it was, it's still memorable. People still remember that moment to this day. So it's really weird to think about it. Obviously, too, another moment I'm going to remember was when she came out on Raw, and pretty much it was right after the WWE was trying to enter this PG era, and she came out and pretty much called out Cool and called up a bunch of sluts and stuff and wanted to wrestle him in a Falls Count Anywhere match. It was hilarious. And then obviously other moments I'm gonna remember is like I said, a relationship with Mark Henry when she pretty much gave birth to Hornswoggle on the New Year's Eve episode of Raw. Um, Interesting segment too. Uh, when she got like a big happy birthday segment and it was interrupted by CM Punk. Um, a lot of memorable moments. Obviously, the one we want to forget, but it happened, was the bikini contest that took place in the Royal Rumble 2000, and Mae Young came and stripped and unveiled her puppies. Um, and Mark Henry and Jerry the King Lawler had to cover it up. So, and obviously doing the bra and panties match at New Year's Revolution 2006 when she came and did the same thing, and the Fabulous Moolah had to come cover it up. A lot of memorable moments for Mae Young that no one I don't think will ever forget. And I'm actually happy. I think this tournament deserves to be renamed after Mae Young because, like I said, she pretty much made it a point that she loved to get it into the ring. She loved being in the WWE. Okay, so now I'm gonna end off the video. I'm gonna go through the competitors in the Mae Young Classics again, just kind of repeating it. I have the photos for it right here. Um, Representing the United States, you could follow her on Twitter at Abby Lath WWE, Abby Lath. Representing England, you can follow her on Twitter at Amazing Amazing A Shroud. I have no clue how to say that. Ashma Raymond. Representing the United States, you can follow her on Twitter at Bianca Belair WWE, Bianca Belair. Representing the United States, you can follow her on Twitter at Candice LeRae, Candice LeRae. Representing New Zealand, you can follow her on Twitter at Dakota Kai /WWE, Dakota Kai. Representing Germany, you can follow her on Twitter at Alpha Female One, Jazzy Gabert, or Gabbard, I don't know how to say it. Representing Japan, you can follow her on Twitter at Kayara-san WWE, Kayara-san, I don't know how to say that last name. Representing India, Kavita Devi. Representing Scotland, you can follow her on Twitter at Kaylee Ray, Kaylee Ray. Representing the United States, you can follow her on Twitter at Lacey Evans WWE, Lacey Evans. Representing the Dominican Republic, you can follow her on Twitter at Modi Bell, Modi Bell. Representing the United States, Mercedes Martinez. Representing South Korea, you can follow her on Twitter at Maya Yim, Maya Yim. Representing the United States, you can follow her on Twitter at the Miranda/S, Miranda Salinas. Representing the United States, you can follow her on Twitter at Nikki M. Safor, Nicole Savoy. Representing Scotland, you can follow her on Twitter at Miss Piper91, Piper Niven. Representing Mexico, you can follow her on Twitter at Princessa Sujit, Princessa Sujit. Representing the United States, you can follow her. Representing the United States, Rachel Evers. Representing the United States, you can follow her on Twitter at Renee WWE, Renee Gonzalez. Representing the United States, you can follow her on Twitter at one Renee Michelle, Renee Michelle. Representing Australia, you can follow her on Twitter at Ray Ripley WWE, Ray Ripley. Representing the United States, you can follow her on Twitter at Sage Beckett WWE, Sage Beckett. Representing the United States, you can follow on Twitter at Santana Garrett, Santana Garrett. Representing the United States, you can follow her on Twitter at Sarah Logan WWE, Sarah Logan. Representing the United States, you can follow on Twitter at Serena Deeb, Serena Deeb. Representing the United States, you can follow on Twitter at QOS Blazer, Shyana Blazer, Baszler, sorry. Representing Brazil, you can follow her on Twitter at Tomana Conti WWE, Tomana Conti. Representing the United States, you can follow on Twitter at Tessa Blanchard, Tessa Blanchard. Representing Australia, you can follow on Twitter at Tony Storm, Tony Storm. Representing the United States, you can follow on Twitter at Vanessa Bourne WWE, Vanessa Bourne. Representing China, you can follow on Twitter at Zai WWE, Zai Li. And then last but certainly not least, representing China, you can follow her on Twitter at Zeta WWE, Zeta. And then that's the final competitor. That's all the competitors announced for the Mae Young Classics. Okay, so that pretty much ends off this video. I don't know if I'm going to be doing another one of these because every time I think it's the last one, there's more information revealed about the Mae Young Classics. So have no clue when the next one will come up. But I will be doing the Mae Young Bracketology. I don't think I'll watch it. I'll probably watch it like Monday, the day after SummerSlam, because I'm probably going to be tired after watching SummerSlam. So I'm probably going to be doing that. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please make sure you like, comment, and share this video so that way people will watch it and it will get the views, because any publicity is good publicity. Make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel for more content, and make sure you click on the bell so that way every time I upload a video on this channel, you'll get the notification for it. And make sure you do the same for the CM Brothers and On the Talkinators YouTube channels. Make sure you subscribe to those channels, and make sure you click on the bell on those YouTube channels. So that way, every time I upload a video on those channels, you'll get the notification for it. And that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.